Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jumoke Akintelo, and I'm the hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Cherise Waiters is the clerk for this hearing, and this hearing is being recorded. So please contact us through Urban Forestry if you have any questions or need information on the agenda. So the public comments. Members of the public may address the hearing officer on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Do we have any public comments before I move to the main agenda? So the public hearing is being held
Miss,
and the hearing, go ahead.
Miss Taylor, excuse me. We do have a public comment, and give me a moment so that I can pull it up and read it, please. It was submitted in writing.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your patience. I apologize for the delay. We have a public comment. You can hear me, correct? Okay. We have a public comment from Joshua Clip, and he says, okay. He says, at 13.7%, San Francisco has the smallest urban canopy of any major city in the United States. According to San Francisco Public Works, other major U.S. cities average 25% tree canopy. In 2014, San Francisco issued an urban forest plan that called for the net addition of 2,500 street trees per year. In 2021, San Francisco issued a climate action plan that called for the net addition of 40,000 new street trees by 2040. According to the most recent San Francisco Urban Forestry Council report since 2017, San Francisco has not net gained a single street tree. In fact, San Francisco has net lost 1,300 street trees. And this loss is set against a backdrop of severe underfunding for the planting and watering of new street trees. There is no money for street tree planting set aside in the annual city budget. The majority of funding for street tree planting comes from donations, in lieu fees, grants, and Prop K, a fund that is dwindling because it's tied directly to fossil fuel usage in a city increasingly promoting electric vehicles. The city's 2021 Climate Action Plan, a plan drafted in response to the city's 2019 declaration that we are in a climate emergency, also called for a policy of preserving trees for construction and infrastructure improvements, and it called for this policy by 2023. The Climate Action Plan went on to say that in instances where a tree absolutely cannot be preserved, the city should have a policy for basal area replacement. It's nearly 2025, and not a single city department has embraced this critical aspect of the Climate Action Plan. Notably, the Climate Action Plan didn't call for these policies because they were just nice to have. It called for these policies because they are a need to have as part of a larger plan for San Francisco's future climate resilience. According to our city's own plans, records, and reports, we are failing ourselves and our future by continuing to remove trees without exploring alternatives, allowing driveways and other infrastructure to remove existing trees and wholly failing to replace what we take out. And replacement trees are a fallacy. Young saplings are no replacement for mature trees. Not to mention, there is no guarantee or enforcement mechanism when it comes to young trees establishing successfully. It's against this backdrop that I hope the department will consider the matter on this morning's agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other public comments or that's it?
We do have another hand, and we also have we have two more comments.
Okay.
Mr. Nolte, go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Okay, great. So I have a couple of issues. One, we see the winter and we're having a lot of wind this week, and so that's causing PG&E outages all over the Bay Area, and also that's affecting San Francisco. When I went out this morning, I almost was blown down the street. It's getting that bad. Okay. So, so that of course is going to cause problems with mature trees, or just trees in general in San Francisco, as we have hills and so forth. And also, I have to make this point about the Van Ness corridor, right across the street from 100 Van Ness. Van Ness, the old AAA building. All the trees are bent right there in the medium because we've been in those trees, and I'm that's a windbreaker, and that's what causes all the wind down Market Street. So again, these issues should be looked at, and I don't know who. Now that the corridor is done with, and we're making all these wind tunnels all over the city because of these buildings that we're building. We have these bigger buildings going in, and also we have another one on the corner of Van Ness and Market going up now. It's quite between construction and wind, and also lack of watering, and also because of our dry climate we have in San Francisco in the sand and the clay and so forth, what we have on our topsoil. The trees are not being nourished, and so mature trees are going to be dying because they're not getting the water or the mulch or the things that they need to maintain themselves. And I think this is behoves, again, there's no money for BUF to help the trees that are already established, that already been established 3 more years, to help them survive our harsh winter that's going to be coming in. So I would hope that, again, we need money like that to sustain the trees that we already have in existence, and not have them destroyed because they topple over because of the high winds or the rains that are going to be coming this winter, and already happening right now. And I hope that BUF is not really being impacted right now of trees going down because of the high winds. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. The other public comment, there's another hand up, Cherise.
Yes, good morning. Betsy, Eddie, I looked for your comment, and I believe that's something that you want to. I'm sorry, I looked for your comment, and I believe that's something that you want to express once the hearing officer calls for your for the case. So right now, the public comment is for items that are not on today's agenda. So if you can please hold your comment until the case has been presented.
Yes, now I understand.
Okay, thank you so much.
Are there any other public comments on items not on the agenda for today? Okay. So we'll proceed. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Jumoke Akintaylor, and this public hearing is being held to consider hearing order number 211054, and it's to consider the removal of 2 street trees with replacement adjacent to 101 Gold Mine Drive, and the tree removal permits number 7 95206. Staff has denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for this hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help the Director of Public Works make a determination. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to our director. The director will make the final determination. When the director's determination is made, the department will notify you. Therefore, if you want to be notified, please send your name. I believe that's you let Urban Forestry know. The hearing will proceed as follows. I would ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the item, give us a general overview of the permit application process, and describe how the application arrived at today's hearing. Afterwards, I'll have speakers in the following order. I'll ask the appellant to or anyone who has submitted a written comments to speak. Anyone who is supporting the appellant. Then I would also give and then I will listen to public comments. And lastly, any city agency, including Public Works, can speak and comment as on any of the speakers. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers. When you hear the first bell, it means the speaker has 30 seconds left to speak. A louder second bell will signal that the time is up. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or appellant. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimonies to me at the end of this hearing. And if I feel that a question is warranted, I will ask the question. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. Can we now begin with hearing order number 211054? Public Works staff, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Chris Buck with Public Works, Bureau of Urban Forestry, and we'll give a general introduction to how Public Works handles and processes tree removal permit applications, just some general background, and then I will dive into the details on this particular permit application. So with that, I'm going to share my screen, and it will just take a moment to pull this up. So bear with me. And just checking, Cerise, if my PowerPoint's visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, that's amazing. That's the fastest time I've managed to do that. So just to kind of set the backdrop, actually, we received a public comment from Joshua Clipp that actually did a really outstanding job highlighting all the challenges that we face as a city in San Francisco, trying to balance protecting and enhancing the current existing urban forest, but also trying to get more funding to carry forward the urban forest plan. And so the city does give careful consideration to when it approves or denies removal of a street tree. And then, of course, we have a very robust tree removal hearing process, which this is part of. So just in general, the goal at Public Works and the Bureau of Urban Forestry citywide with Public Works, the goal is to ensure safe, clean, and green infrastructure and public rights-of-way. And our mission at the Bureau of Urban Forestry is to preserve and grow the urban forest while balancing the safety and needs of a growing and evolving city. Some of these images show just various maintenance activities. Upper left is a tree removal, I believe, on Hayes Street. Upper right corner is tree protection in place when there's construction nearby. Bottom left is planting replacement trees. And bottom right, I believe what this is showing is a significant tree near a public stairway. So there's a number of different things that we're involved with. In 2 general elections ago, almost to the day, the voters of San Francisco passed Prop E, which is street tree, which is now being implemented as of July 1st, 2017, and we refer to it as Street Tree SF, which is that the voters spoke clearly that they wanted the city and public works to be responsible for all street trees within the public right-of-way. And these are trees that are in the sidewalks typically. Sometimes they're in open space areas. So our goal is to be pruning trees every 3 to 5 years. We are behind by a couple of years, and due to the pandemic, we are also still needing to close out about 25% remaining areas of the city so that we can complete our first complete cycle of tree maintenance regarding pruning and removal of trees when necessary. So this is just a visual of that. We do have a map on our website where you can track to see when your neighborhood is likely to receive tree pruning. We do have an ordinance, urban forestry ordinance, which is Article 16 of the Public Works Code. And the ordinance establishes authorization and standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees. And again, it's codified under Article 16 of the Public Works Code. So with all that said, when someone desires to remove a street tree in the public right-of-way, or a significant tree, which is a tree of a certain size on private property but within 10 feet of a public right-of-way, a tree removal permit is required to be submitted. And one thing I'd like to note is that the application that we received from the property owner at 101 Goldmine Drive, the application is to remove 2 significant trees on private property. So when we issue a resulting recommendation, we'll have to update this to say 2 significant trees with replacement. And the subject trees are on the Diamond Heights Boulevard frontage of the property. The tree removal permit is 795206. Our staff at Urban Forestry denied the removal at the staff level, and the applicant has appealed. The 2 subject trees are Monterey pine trees, and they're along the 5300 block of Diamond Heights Boulevard. This hearing has been rescheduled a number of times. I do want to apologize to both the applicant and the public for that and any confusion that maybe have created. But we have had 3 different urban forestry inspectors who have essentially been working on this application. And so we're finally here to hear this matter. The subject trees are Monterey pine trees, and the Latin or scientific name for that is Pinus radiata. So getting into the visuals of the actual subject here, here's a photo of the 2 subject trees. We number so we can communicate about which tree is which. The tree on the right we number as tree number 1. Tree on the left is tree number 2. If you think about it, we number the trees with the flow of traffic so that if you were on the tree crew moving on that side of the block in that direction with the flow of traffic, the trees are listed in the order in which they are likely to come across them. So it's based on maintenance staff being in the field. What we see in these images, so I'll be repeating this several times. We did deny the removal request at the staff level. However, my presentation will be very tempered. I do want to be very eyes wide open about both of these trees. These trees are not thriving. The condition is not good. The condition of them is kind of in this gray area between fair to poor. And so the trees are beginning to senesce or slow in age, and they are exhibiting decreased vigor and some decline. and even a little bit of dieback. So this is not a presentation where at the staff level I'm going to be, we never shout and yell, but certainly these are trees that are beginning to decline in health. So the tree on the right has very little canopy remaining. There were a row of 4. The permit was removed. It was issued in 2017 for the removal and replacement. They were replaced with ceanothus, blue bottom ceanothus trees, which are native, create native habitat for pollinators and birds like them. And tree on the left is number 2. It has more canopy, it's larger, but this tree as well is showing signs of decline, which it will explain in greater detail. So just to kind of break down what we mean when we say street tree versus a tree on private property, down the sidewalk in the distance are street trees, trees that are in the public right-of-way, planted towards the curb. And every block or public right-of-way in San Francisco has a designated width of the public right-of-way. Another way to say this is that each block, the property line, proximity of the property line from the face of the curb varies. And that means that for the city and the property owner to understand if these trees are on their property or in the public right-of-way, the city staff, we actually pull up parcel maps and measure the width of the public right-of-way. We have a tool where we confirm the public right-of-way on a block. We did this, it's 10 feet. We measure that 10 feet from the face of the curb going towards the property, and I've circled that in this image. What that means when you're on site is that that curb on the left, where that curb meets the plane of the roadway, we call that the face of the curb, not the top, but the face. We measure from the face of the curb in towards the property, and I have a few measurements that I can share with everyone. But to confirm that the trees are in fact not in the public right-of-way, but on private property, and are therefore the maintenance responsibility of that property owner. Tree 1 on the right, what I did is I measured from the face of the curb to the face of that retaining wall, which is 8 feet 8 inches, and then we measured from the face of that retaining wall to basically the start or the face of the trunk of the tree. So the start of the tree's trunk is 10 feet 10 inches from the face of the curb, which means that the start of the trunk or the face of the trunk is basically 10 inches inside the public right-of-way. For a tree to be considered a significant tree, it would be anywhere within 10 feet of that first 10 feet of private property from the public right-of-way. This is just me making sure we're doing our checkdowns and verifying, yes, in fact, the tree is not in the public right-of-way. The trunk of the tree starts within 10 inches. And same thing with the tree number 2. We measure the public right-of-way, we measure the physical site, and look at how that actually matches up. And so just one thing to note is that with a 10-foot public right-of-way, in this case, both sections of retaining wall are roughly within the public right-of-way. And so that's just a little bit about how we determine these things. I just wanted to show you the process. Regarding significant trees, very briefly, in 2007, our ordinance was amended and revised so that trees that are on private property but are close to the public right-of-way and are providing this sort of benefit to the public, that these have value. And so the significant tree section was created, and it's tree on private property to be considered significant only needs to meet one of the 3 size criteria. So a height 20 feet or greater, 15 feet canopy width or greater, and then a diameter 4.5 feet above grade that is 12 inches or greater. The subject trees meet the significant criteria. They meet all of them. So with that, we've explained some of the measurements. So with that, I just want to review a few more photos of the trees, and then we'll let the applicant and then the public speak. But this is a detailed photo of tree number 1. It's very columnar and upright because it was in with a group of other trees, and the tree, there is green vigorous canopy here. That said, there's very little of it. You know, when you look at the ratio of live crown to just tree height, there's very little live crown ratio. There are actually a couple of dead branches in the lower right, middle right section of this photo, and the tree lacks a central leader with well-spaced secondary lateral branches. That's not the end of the world. But again, this tree was growing kind of wedged among a bunch of other trees, and those trees are no longer there. Here's another view of tree number 1. Very few branches remain on the tree. The vigor on this tree, the green foliage is good, but again, there's a couple of dead branches, and there's such a limited amount of canopy to this tree. Tree number 2 is on the left. It's larger and has more branches. We look very closely at each branch. Typically, you never want to see the tip of a branch be dead or drying or dying back. The tip of a branch is the part of the branch that grows along with side lateral branches. And so when you look beneath tree number 2, you can actually see there's quite a bit of thinning throughout this canopy. And it still did look mostly like this and probably back in April, but I do think it's probably declined some additional decline. But the needle growth and the needle fullness or vigor is clearly reduced from how a species of this size should look. Here's another view of that. Again, I would say at this point, whereas our staff earlier in the year, this process has taken such a long time that if staff believed this tree condition was fair and denied it earlier in the year, at this point in time, looking at this image, I would have to say that the condition of this tree is poor. The vigor is poor. Here's another view of the canopy of both trees. And so I'm here today to essentially state that while we did deny the removal at the staff level, the trees at that time, I recall the conversation. They were fair, but they were on a continuum. I would say they were certainly getting close to being in poor condition. And I think at this point, looking at the canopy and the decline, I would have to say that both trees at this point in time are poor. And so our staff recommendation is, I would say, as part of this hearing, I would say is modified to just state that the condition of the trees is no longer fair, but they're in poor condition. That said, the only other possible thing to add to this would be other big picture items like replacement species. I do know that other trees were replaced with ceanothus, blue blossom ceanothus, Ray Hartman. It's a smaller stature tree, but it also has good habitat potential. I think we should discuss replacement species here. And then the retaining wall was recently redone, but there was a retaining wall that existed prior to that. So there's really no changes to or impacts to the root system with that work that recently occurred. So I think that's enough of me talking about this. But to be consistent with how we handled similar cases, these are some of the factors that played into our review of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So from what I'm hearing is that this application is going to be modified. So because the trees are now in, is it fair or poor condition? So there is no objection to removing the trees and replacing it, but it's the species that you would want to have conversation about.
Correct. We're moving off of our earlier position of denying the application.
Okay.
That was made much earlier in the year, and we're just having to say these trees are now in a poor condition, and if they're poor, then our staff recommendation would be to support removal.
Okay. All right. So that
But
has changed from the initial denial.
Yeah, the staff level position has I would say the way to say it is that are in preparation for the hearing. You know, we've been to the site again, and we wanted to revise our assessment of the trees because we're here at this hearing, and that's certainly the right thing to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So just to follow the order of the hearing, I would have the appellant speak. Now that you know that Public Works is changing their position or reconsidering their position. So appellant, please go ahead and speak. Cherise, can you promote them, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Cameron Partridge, and I'm the rector of St. Aidan's, the priest at St. Aidan's. I appreciate you taking the time for this hearing today and for the revised perspective that you have on the trees. We seek to be good stewards of our neighborhood, and including very much the trees that we're very fortunate to have on our property. And we have sought to be careful in our process to seek the wisdom of an arborist, and we appreciate the wisdom that you've just brought to the table as well. And we appreciate your revised assessment. We want to do right by our neighborhood and by the children in the preschool who are in the yard just below those trees, whom we're very concerned about, and for anyone who might be walking down the sidewalk. And we want, of course, to support the urban canopy and to replace the trees appropriately. So thank you for taking the time to reassess this. And I know we have some other folks from our community here to speak with more insight into this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Betsy.
Am I unmuted? Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. Please.
Okay, I'm a volunteer at St. Aidan's, and I'm also the coordinator of the Diamond Heights Boulevard Median Project and the president of the Diamond Heights Community Association. And to add to Cameron's comments, I'm really very much appreciate that you have ceased to deny the permit and will allow St. Aidan's to remove the trees dependent on the replacement trees. And I just want to say that this is really good news. I was the one who found the tree limb that was 5 feet long and laden with pine cones. As soon as I found that limb, because I was picking up trash there in that area, which I do once a week, I immediately alerted Cameron and other people at the church that this tree needed to be assessed for safety. And I was just so concerned that the tree limb could have hit me, it could have hit the volunteers that maintain that area. And I just want to add to more evidence. Public Works did remove a Monterey pine directly across from those, the tree 1 and tree 2 in the median. And that was working with Steve Keller in 2021, where he had the tree assessed, the Monterey pine, and found that it needed to be removed because it was basically in the same condition that the tree 1 and tree 2 are. So I'm just really pleased that we'll be able, working with Public Works and removing the trees, that's going to so much add to the safety of pedestrians, and the cars don't have the possibility of being damaged because there's cars parked there all the time. And just particularly for the safety of the children in the playground. So thank you very much.
Right, thank you, ma'am. Are there any other public comments?
Yes, I
Okay.
have a public comment from Joshua Clip, and I will read it now. It says, in addition to my earlier comment, I appreciate and support Public Works' decision to deny this application. Public Works is a sole protector of our city's poultry, diminishing urban forest. Any decision to deny an application ought to be viewed with deference. Thank you. That's the end of his comment.
Thank you.
And
So,
we do have
thank
two
you.
hands.
Yes. Yeah, we have Eileen Sher. Can you please go ahead and speak? Okay. Can you hear? I know she's unmuted, but I can't hear her. Cherise, can you hear her?
No, I cannot. Miss
Okay.
Shay, Ellen Shay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll come back to her. We'll go to Mr. Nolte.
Yes.
Good morning. A couple of issues here. One, I think there's a couple of things we have to clean up here. On your agenda, you have this as a street tree, and as was mentioned during Buff's presentation, he's changing it from a street tree to a significant tree, which falls into two different categories. And then also the other issue is you're going from the recommendation of the staff saying that they don't want to remove now because of an updated version of looking at the tree this month or something, and also hearing that this has been heard several times, that now it's a poor condition for these two trees to be removed. So as a member of the public, of course, we want to grow our urban canopy, and because this is on the property of the church, that we would prefer a made, because you're taking down, 100-foot, I don't know how many feet tall tree, and mature trees, two mature trees. I would like a in-kind replacement tree, since now it's been chosen to be these trees be poor, and then they want to be suggested to be removed, so that we would have either 24, 36, or 48 box a tree going in, and also two-way something that would give shade to that area, and also since it's what I see is no parking on that area, that shade for the school, shade for the again for the people on that area, because you're taking away a tree that did give two trees that did give shade on that side of the street. So I would love something that there would be like another evergreen or Monterey pine sort of comparable replacement tree. So that's what was being discussed here. So I want to be on the same page as what Chris Buck is on, to bring to not necessarily what they have used before, but to, we we need something to we need major trees still on that for the growth of our canopy in San Francisco. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we have the other Mr. Norton? Oh, okay.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that there also needs to be a cleanup on the agenda that there's two trees and not one, or put into the motion of there being a replacement. And I think since we're replacing two large diameter trees, that there should be possibly more in-kind trees planted in its place. It only makes sense because you know, the whole purpose of what was mentioned under public comment part of this agenda is that we're every time we remove trees, we're still way behind in our total academy for San Francisco. And you know, I heard in the presentation, kids do have lungs and they do need oxygen, and obviously trees do provide a couple things. One, oxygen, shade, and bird life, and everything else. And I don't want to get into you know, when I was a kid, I had a tree fort, and you know, and kids like to climb trees. So you know, I think you know, the reality is you know, trees are really nice to have in your backyard or nearby. And you know, I grew up on a hill, and we had tree forts, but I'm not saying that that needs to happen here. But the reality is trees are part of San Francisco, and they need to be maintained. And in this case, if the replacement's going to happen, I suggest that there be more than just 2 trees put in, because I also heard in the presentation that there were other trees at the site and they were removed. And now there are only 2 left. So, you know, I don't know what's really been going on at that location, but if you only have these 2 trees left because they're significant and they needed permits to remove them, you know, how much more cleanup is going to happen at this location? So, yeah, I would like to see more trees there if there's going to be a replacement. And that, as also been mentioned, that they be larger trees so they
30
can.
seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you try Miss Shay now, please?
Hello? You can
Yes,
hear,
hello, we can hear you. Yes.
thank you. I had a presentation about the trees planned, but I think that Chris Buck made my points for me. So those materials are available for review later by the hearing officer. So I just want to speak briefly about replanting. I believe the church is considering what species to put in. They're considering these things seriously. I recommend not planting too close to the stairs and not too close to the existing very healthy ceanothus, which is exposed to full sun and doing well. So it's approximately a 30-foot long strip that's approximately 9 feet wide at the time I measured it in February. It may be different now that the retaining wall and the new retaining wall went in. So 30-foot long by 9 feet wide. That's not necessarily a place for giant trees like a Monterey pine. We have a building to consider, we have signage. I definitely think 2 trees could go in there very comfortably. I think the reason these trees did as poorly as they did partly is because there were too many to start with. There were 4 large-scale trees crammed into a very small place. And I think it would be better to have fewer trees that can be allowed to grow to their full canopy spread and height. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have one more hand up. Sharice, okay. Go ahead. Digit Boiler, please go ahead with your comments. Did you promote, Sharice, have they been promoted? Yes, they're here. But I don't see their audio.
Ms. Bowler, can you go ahead and unmute yourself, please?
I don't see their audio. I don't know if they logged in with audio capacity. I don't see it.
Okay, and I don't see any message in the chat either. So
Is
I
it,
will put
is it,
our,
yeah, is it possible to promote her as a panelist or, just to see if that shakes anything free, or that's kind of the process anyway?
let me try that.
Okay, that worked. Well, I see their audio now, so I don't think they logged in earlier on with the audio. So, Ms. Bola, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Thank you.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I only wanted to say that it's just that in general, I think it would be a good idea for anytime anybody wants to remove a tree, that they must not just replace it with one, but replace it with two. That's it.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments? Hey. All right. If there are no other public comments, in the absence of that, I am closing this hearing. This hearing is now closed. Thank you everyone for your time and have a good rest of the day.